Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of Sports Talk. We're breaking down the high school football field, and Matt, there's only one left standing right now. Muncy last week with a win in the first round of the state playoffs over Lackawanna Trail. Williamsport, Lewisburg, Warrior Run all came up shy in their attempts to move on. But Muncy 47-46 over Lackawanna Trail, and what was just an awesome, exciting game from following along on Twitter with Mitch Rupert, who was there and reading that game story.
Yeah, I interviewed Styles Ire Friday night and was just trying to get ahead of this stuff for previews and stuff for this week. And I told him, I was like, man, I feel like I need oxygen. And I was just following the game on Twitter. I can't imagine what it was like to actually play in it. And yeah, that's a Massey special type of game.
Well, that's your type of game with that offense.
Yeah, 93 points over 1,000 yards of offense. Man, that's a tour de force, and that's a great win for Muncy. They beat a great team, 2 hours from home, and just an awesome way for them to go into the state quarterfinals for just the second time ever.
Yeah, you read a Mitch Rupert story. Muncy scores a touchdown there with 75 seconds to go. Then the players run over. I think it was Ken Hampy ran over to Tetra and says, "We're going for two." Not saying, "Hey, are we?" We say, "We're going for two. We're getting the win here." And you have to love that if you're a Tetra from your players, that motivation, that much confidence. Like, that's what we're doing. We're going to get the win today.
Absolutely. I think that's the kind of thing you dream of as a coach, that your team has that much belief in itself. And I think he believes. I think that comes from the top down. I think he and the coaching staff have such belief in them and drill that into their heads that they're capable of beating anybody if they play as well as they can. So I think that's kind of coming full circle there. Like Mitch said in the story, Tetra was planning on going for it anyway, but when you hear how confident they are, that just reaffirms your belief that we're it's not like Tetra was like, let me change my mind now. Maybe we'll kick it here. So I love the decision, and when you're moving the ball that well, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, it worked out.
Yeah, and the defense. You talked to Styles Irish. He came up with he had that key interception there on Lackawanna Trail's final drive to seal that game, and the defense just came up big there when they needed to get that win in exciting fashion.
Yeah, obviously the defense had its struggles, but give them credit. They made the stop when they had to at the end of the game. And, one of the stories I'm writing coming up this week is about their next play mentality, not thinking about what had happened and just focusing on the next one. And I think that last stand kind of drives that home, that they were able to say, we got the game, it's in our hands now, and making the play to win it. And that's 7 interceptions on the year for Ire. He's come up big all season. And then Dominic Gardini, spoiler alert, you can read about both Styles Ire and Dominic Gardini in Wednesday's Sun-Gazette. But Gardini had 2 interceptions too. So even though they gave up a lot of yards, the defense still found a way to make some game-changing plays.
Yeah. I feel like every week when we talk about Muncy, we talk about Austin Johnson and Landon Walmer, but you kind of have to.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, Johnson, 26 carries, 284 yards, 3 touchdowns. Walmer had 10 for 80 and a touchdown, and Ayers ran twice, 39 yards and a touchdown. As a team, Muncy ran for 405 yards, and in total yards, they had 547. So just if you're Tetra, you have to be more than happy with that offensive performance. Yeah,
and all that against a team that had just shut out their previous opponent in the playoffs, and that was allowing only 11 or 12 points per game.
Yeah.
The offensive line's been outstanding. I think they're playing as well as they have all year, and you give those two, Johnson and Walmer, a little bit of room, and they can make a lot of things happen. And Johnson now. Among area running backs in the 2000s, only Dominic Bragalone and Darrell Blackman, the two best players I ever have covered. They're the only ones that have more yards in a season than Austin Johnson.
It's pretty good company for him to be in.
Yeah, so he's near to almost 2,400, and then Landon Walmer's got over 1,200 on top of it. It's kind of astounding. It's hard to wrap your head around, and then it's not like it's just they're running every play of the game. Styles Ire went over 1,000 yards passing in that game, so they've just got a lot of different ways to try to beat you. They use their weapons well, and the offensive line helps make it go.
Mm-hmm. From talking with all these guys, for the previews and stuff like that, and all these features, what do you think they kind of as the general consensus as to what the key that's made this team kind of be this successful been?
I think they've got great senior leadership. That's another thing I'm writing about for Thursday. And I think those seniors kind of set the tone in the offseason, making sure everybody was doing what they had to do in the weight room, what they had to do with just their football training in general. And I think they've done a good job keeping that team together through the highs and lows. They had 2 heartbreaking losses to bookend the regular season. And I think they did a good job refocusing and realizing what they had to do. They knew what their goals were. They knew that they wanted to win a district title. They knew they did that. But then I think they did a great job staying focused on the next task and trying to realize that they want to maximize everything they have. I think they want to make sure they leave no regrets on the table, that whenever this run ends, if it ends, they want to make sure they did everything possible to win. And I just think a lot of that comes from the leadership and instilling that in every player on that field.
Up next, they get the District 3 champion, DeLone Catholic. Obviously going to be a tough one. They beat District 12 champ Belmont Charter 28-22 in the first round. I guess what's going to be, if you're Muncy, what do you kind of have to go into this one as like a key that you have to do this right if you want to get a win?
Keep doing what they've been doing. Keep trying to win that battle up front. They have, knock on wood, they haven't been turning the ball over. That's huge. Defensively, it's going to be a challenge again. Trail was a run-heavy team. They run the wing tee. DeLone is a lot more balanced. They've got a quarterback with over 1,400 yards. They've got a 1,000-yard rusher. They spread the ball around in the passing game really efficiently, and they have a pretty good defense. So it's a different kind of challenge, and I think Trail, it's a different kind of team. It's the state quarterfinals. Everybody's really good at this point, so obviously it's a big challenge. But I think they just have to – I think Muncy has to just focus on what they can control and what they can take care of. And I think that's a big key right now, not worrying so much about what the other team has, just trying to do what you do and try to do it really well.
Yeah. In Muncy, we've talked about it before, where a lot of their games, they kind of get out to a fast start, keep their foot on the pedal, and just kind of put teams away early. But, obviously Lackawanna Trail kind of was there right till the very end with them, and they had to go back and forth. Do you think a game like that, though, is kind of beneficial where they know they can't, they're going to be in for a dogfight till the very end? Do you think that's something that's going to help pay dividends?
I think it's huge for them. Their 2 losses this year were heartbreakers, so I think for them to know that they can go toe-to-toe with a perennially really strong team that's won a lot of district titles and made some runs in states like Lackawanna Trail, to know that they can handle. I mean, there were so many times in that game, 5 lead changes, and so many different times that they could have got down on themselves and rolled over, and they just kept coming back and hitting back and making plays. I think that's huge for them. I think it instills in them that no matter what happens during the course of a game, they can overcome it. And at this point, when you know all the games are going to be hard, that's a huge benefit.
Yeah.
And ironic, I don't know if it's ironic, but DeLone Catholic kind of went through the same thing against Belmont Charter, where they won with, I think, 18 seconds to go. They had to make a last-minute drive to win that game. So you got 2 teams coming in here that are pretty resilient and are coming in with a lot of momentum, not just because they won, but because of how they won.
And you going to our other teams when I got eliminated last week, Williamsport came up shy in the District 4 Class 3A game against Danville. Warrior Run lost against Troy. Warrior Run had history getting to the district final. Great season for them. And you wrote in your comment about Jeremiah Davis and what he kind of overcame this year. Just kind of touch kind of briefly on just the history Warrior Run made and what Jeremiah Davis, his season kind of meant to him.
Yeah, Warrior Run has a lot to be proud of. They just ran into an absolute juggernaut in Troy, who I think is going to win the state title. But yeah, I mean, you're talking about a team there that 2 years ago they just snapped a 19-game losing streak, and last year they go to the semis, and now they go with 8 wins. That's tied for the most that they've had in the 2000s. So that's been an amazing turnaround there, and went down fighting. It was a game. They were hanging in there for a while, and Troy's strength took over in the second half. But that program's come light years, and the seniors have definitely left their mark there. Eli Butler had an incredible all-around season. Sam Hall all-time areas leading receiver and receiving yards. So they did a lot of great things. And Jeremiah Davis put on a show against Danville. That was an awesome game. Not as high scoring as the Trail Muncy game, but equally exciting. And I think that this game also had 5 lead changes, including 3 in the fourth quarter. But Davis was unreal. Danville knew it was coming. Lewisburg, I mean, they pretty much said we're going to ride Jeremiah Davis as far as we can, and almost took him to a title. He just ran so hard. I mean, I don't think there was a time I can remember where the first tackler got him down.
Yeah.
And just the speed, the determination, it was a pretty awesome display by him against a phenomenal team in Danville, who's number 1 in the state. So they were 47 seconds away from winning the district title, and it was a team effort, but Jeremiah Davis was kind of the engine power in it, and he was fun to watch. That's a kid that came back from a torn ACL as a sophomore. He lost his father 7 years ago, and just an awesome all-around player in person, and I think inspires that entire team. So I think for him to have the season he had, going over 2,100 yards, he broke program record for rushing touchdowns and touchdowns overall in a season at Lewisburg. That's a testament to him, and I think there's a lot of people in Lewisburg that are happy for him, and justifiably so.
Yeah, absolutely. In Williamsport, they win the district championship. They run into a buzzsaw in State College, the third ranked team in the state at the time, 75-14. But when you run in, I mean, you mentioned kind of in your preview capsule going into that one that Williamsport would have to play nearly a perfect game to be able to upset State College.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know if it would the margin would get as big as it did early, but I mean, State College is a juggernaut, and they're up to number 2 in the state now, and 6A. They've got, I mean, they're a decorated program. They make deep runs in the state tournament every year, and definitely it was an eye-opening experience for Williamsport, but they're still district champions. They still got those gold medals. And, something they hadn't done in 8 years, something that only 2 teams have done since 1995 at Williamsport. So I think it was a huge step forward for them. And, as painful as that loss was, it also gives the guys returning a taste of what they've got to do in the offseason to try to get closer to that level that State College and those 6A teams are at. They proved they could be the best team in the district.
Yeah, because I talked to Mike Pearson afterwards, and that's kind of what he said. It's like, this is big boy 6A football, and we have to get to this level to be able to compete with these teams.
Yeah, and I think that starts in the weight room. I think they've got to get a little bit stronger. They've got to get better up front. And, like I said, they made a lot of good steps forward this year. I think they have a good foundation going forward, and just have to take the positives that they can get from that game and use that as a learning experience, but not let it take away from what was a great season for them.
Yep. Well, that'll do it for Sports Talk this week. Massey, one last thing. Did Bucknell cost you again in the picks this week?
They did. But it's amazing. I think that's 8 or 9. I think it's 9 times now that they've cost me. But I'm still the champ, and I think I don't know if you were 18 behind me. We had that. That was from like 4 weeks ago. But here I finished, and we'll put Massey finished in first place. And John finished in Zach. John finished in 5th.
Almost. I was right there till the end,
One
folks.
is better than the other. That's 7 straight titles for me, by the way. Not that anybody's counting.
Is Jake the last one
overall? I think actually Ben is. I think in his last year, his swan song, he went out on top. Yeah, Jake and Ben are the only ones that have ever beaten me. It's a dynasty. I got more banners than the Boston Garden.
That's true.
Zach did scare me. He was coming
made a run
strong
there.
Yeah, he closed within 2 games. So thank God we're wrapping it up now. But I think I did that. I mean, I like to let people feel like they have a chance every once in a while.
Exactly. Make it competitive.
Yeah. Because everybody on the streets comes up to me, like, how many are you going to win by this year? So you want to create a belief that maybe I could lose in the future. I mean, it won't happen, but you would at least want to create that illusion. And I feel like letting Zach get that close did that going into next year.
It gave him confidence going into
Exactly. Yeah, he gives him a little bit of false hope, and it is false hope.
All right. Well, with that, we'll leave you guys and see you next time.